Alrighty, looks like this is getting underway. Can someone let me know if y'all are able to hear me? Oh shit. Perfect. I actually have the mic plugged in. Let me fix that. Alright, hopefully that's better now. Perfect. Alright, so we have the match of the century here between underscore DumbOnion underscore and their natural nemesis DumbOnion69. This is the best of I have no idea how many for the title of Dumbest Onion. I would assume spec check should probably be off. I would also like to know if this is a best of N. Of course it's real. Alright, we have the first game starting right now. Let's take a look at this kingdom. So we have draw in the form of torture, which nets you 2 cards. Den of Sin, which is also draw. It's non-terminal because you don't have to spend an action to play a night card. I'd say Den of Sin is kind of like Caravan-esque in nature, where it gets you draw the next turn. City will eventually become draw once piles run low, because after you've emptied at least one supply pile, City will functionally turn into a laboratory. I would expect, for example, curses to pile out here relatively soon because of tortures, and then cities will start to look pretty desirable. I think that covers all the draw here. As far as plus action goes, we've got Blessed Village as well as City. There's trashing in the form of Doctor, and there is plus buy in the form of Pawn, and eventually City as well, after 2 piles run. So I'd say there's a pretty big engine to be built here. Let's see how they're opening. So DumbOnion opens with Pawn and Torture on the 2/5. Wait, I can't refer to them as DumbOnion. I'm going to refer to them as... what do I call them? Alright. Underscore and 69 will be their names. Alright, there you go. Thank you. Okay, so, I mean, Pawn Torture seems solid. I would just want to get straight into the Doctors. On 2/5, I would just open, I think, nothing on 2 and then Doctor on 5. I mean, Pawn's not bad, but it can get in the way of good Doctor trash. And I really like overpaying 2 for Doctor. You're definitely going to want to get thin here because the curses are going to start flying soon. I definitely 5/2 is better even with the Torture open, though Torture is not a bad open by any stretch. 69 has Silver Blessed Village. I don't like this opening as much. It actually turned out pretty well because they got the Flames gift, which, I mean, if you can trash an estate before the first reshuffle, that's really good because it means your deck's already thin. And it really increases your chance of hitting 5. That being said, opening with a village is usually kind of dubious because the village is just doing nothing for you normally, right? The Blessed Village itself, setting aside the boon for a second, is the only thing a village helps you do is resolve collision between multiple terminal action cards. And 69 has no terminal action cards in their deck yet. Now they got kind of lucky. They pulled a good boon from the boon pile with the Blessed Village, and so it paid off in the end. But majority of those boons aren't going to help you very much. I think you probably just silver, maybe Marauder silver, and you try to junk them with the Ruins pile. Marauder is actually probably not bad here. The only trashing is Doctor. Now Doctor's good trashing early. When your deck's just mostly coppers and estates, you can overpay a little bit to trash, and then you can name copper and hit pretty reliably. But Doctor falls off a lot later in the game because you don't know what's in the top of your deck, and so you have trouble correctly naming the cards. And B, unlike curses, there's 5 different types of ruins in the Ruins pile: Ruin Village, Ruin Market, Ruin Mine, Ruin something or other, and Survivors. And so it's kind of hard, even if you know there's ruins coming up, you can't really name them effectively with Doctor. And so I think ruins can actually be pretty dangerous here. I would probably foray into the Marauders at some point. All right, let's see how it's played out so far. Who has 2 tortures? Let's see. Underscore has 2 tortures. Okay. Underscore also has a City. I don't think I like the city buys on 5. I think 5's Torturers and Dens of Sin are really strong here. The main thing, I think, step 1 of this kingdom is just to play Torturers as much as you can until the curses run out. Torturer is just a brutal attack, and it stacks with itself, unlike other discard attacks. So if you can play a bunch of Torturers, they either discard down to nothing, or they take hella curses. And so I'm trying to do that as much as possible. If I'm trying to do that, I want a lot of Torturers, and I want lots of Dens of Sin just because they're good non-terminal draw that can line up those cards easily. And then I'm going to buy Blessed Villages on my non-5 turns to help me play additional Torturers. I don't want to waste a key $5 buy on Torturer Den of Sin. Overall, it seems like they're kind of heading in the right direction, though, of build an engine that plays a bunch of Torturers. I think they're just not quite taking the most efficient means to get there. Steph has pointed out that they're underusing the Doctor. I certainly agree with that. This is a kingdom where I would open Doctor, no question. On the $5 turn, if you get it, otherwise the $4 turn, the trashing just seems super valuable here. And there's only one good way to do it. I mean, I guess the other option is potentially you could build up to a big Doctor turn if you add a Seller to your deck. So Seller is, discard any number of cards and draw that many. Normally the main value of Seller is drawing past your junk to find your good stuff. But something you could do here is if you get decent draw going with Torturer and City or Torturer, Blessed Village, whatever, then you can intentionally use the Seller, not necessarily to draw cards, but just to discard a bunch of junk down to your discard pile. And then if you overpay with Doctor, you can guarantee it trashes a bunch of that junk all at once. And so that'd be a good way to get trashed if you sort of skipped or maybe just had bad luck with Doctor early in the game, is get 1 or 2 good draws, discard all your junk into the discard, and then spend like $8, $9 on a Doctor, and then trash like 5 or 6 junk at once. And that would be a really good play here. Also, I guess not to be ignored, there is the landmark Tomb here, which gives you +1 victory point for every card you trash. So in addition to the normal value of Doctor, they are scoring a lot of points if they get some good Doctor plays off. We got 22 spectators already for this match. This is up there with, I think, some of the more highly watched league matches. Seller over Pawn. I think they serve 2 different functions. Seller is definitely valuable here. Pawn's key for plus buy as well, though. You definitely want Pawn at some point, once you're reliably hitting more than 5. So what I expect to happen here is one person is probably going to line up some Torturers a little faster than the other one. And then Torturer games, I think they have a tendency to snowball pretty fast. Because if you get a few Torturers off, your opponent's deck is just oppressed into nothing. They're either discarding all their stuff and then they're not going to line stuff up, or they're taking a bunch of curses and then they're not going to line stuff up because there's curses in the way. And so I think it's often in cases like this, where you got a decent engine with Torturer and weak trashing, it's just going to come down sort of entirely to who can first line that up. All right. Yeah, buying another Torturer is not a bad idea. You can always consider Den of Sin as well. For example, if you know that your next turn is going to be really bad otherwise, sometimes a well-placed Den of Sin could be a better buy than Torturer, even if your ultimate game is to play a bunch of Torturers. Because one of the big benefits of Den of Sin, and the reason why it costs 5 as opposed to a card like Caravan, which only costs 4, is because it gains straight to your hand. And so A, you get the benefit faster, and then B, you can often buy it strategically. Like if you know you have a dud turn coming up, and you want to, for example, like trigger the shuffle or something like that, you can buy Den of Sin in a particular context and know when to trigger it. All right, so someone's mentioned some gold. So yeah, looks like we got 3 gold spots. Who did that? All right, so Underscore bought a gold, 69 bought a gold, 69 bought another gold. I agree. I don't want the golds at all. I mean, gold is like an okay card. Like obviously you want some amount of payload, but it's just, look at the things that you're passing up to buy gold. Torture is amazing. Den of Sin is amazing. Even Villages I would take over the golds here because you're going to need those to play multiple Torturers. I would not spend any buy that was $5 or more on something that wasn't one of those key cards. Or did we get an $8 Doctor? Let's see. Oh no, I think that was a hypothetical. Oh, you got my hopes up. Yeah, a big Doc overpay here would be an amazing play. yeah, the province doesn't make sense at all. Who's got this province? Gains a province. Underscore is already going for the province with 10 curses left. I strongly disagree with that play. Any sort of short-term point value here is just going to be massively dwarfed if you get behind on the curse pile. You line up some torturers, you can easily get that snowball effect rolling. They're going to get all 10 curses, and I mean, there goes your 6 points out the window right there because you're way behind on the curse split. I mean, if you lose the curse split 8-2, you've lost by as much as a province scored you, but now you also have 7 extra junk in your deck, the 6 extra curses plus the province. This is not a kingdom where I would even consider touching the province pile until the curses were empty. I mean, not to mention, you can even afford to build big here just by like outscoring with like, I don't know, gardens and duchies later on, plus tomb points. There's a lot of alt VP to be had. There's no way you're going to win just by like getting a short-term edge on the province pile, not by a long stretch. All right. Yeah, so Underscore is also the first one to be getting off a torture chain here, though, despite the province buy. So they probably just generally had the lead despite that. They bought a second province. I still don't like that. I mean, like, it looks like they have the short-term lead. They've got 3 tortures into play, which is a great play. But definitely the way to squander that is to take the foot off the pedal by doing something like buying multiple provinces. If you've got, the leg up and the torture chain, then you just want to you want to keep their feet to the fire. You want to buy more tortures, more cities, just every turn be playing 3 or 4 tortures, make them discard all their cards or else take all the curses. Because the way the torture attack works is either you have to discard like a militia attack, you discard down to 3, or you take a curse. But the thing that makes torture a lot more painful than a militia attack is it stacks. So if you're at 3 cards and they play it again, you still have to discard. And so you're either discarding down to literally nothing in your hand, or you're taking a bunch of curses. And that's the threat of torture. Is just unlike all of the discard attacks, they chain together really badly. All right, so it looks like chat is currently rooting for 69. Is that just because they're in the losing position at the moment, or do we have a stronger motivation for that? I'm not sure. How did 69 get behind here? The one key misplay I've seen here so far was the province buys from DumbOnion underscore. You want to call him DumbOnion, but that doesn't actually clarify at all. And yet they still seem to be in the lead. My guess is the 5-2 opening might have played a part in it. I think pawn torture is a little bit of an underplay for compared to like a doctor opening, but certainly 5-2 is still better even if you're just open torturer. And so maybe that's just the reason they've got the lead. Let's see if there are any other key misplays. I don't like the early city from underscore, but 69 also gets an early city, so that's not a thing that was unique to either side. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly. I think, up until the province buys, they're both playing similarly. It might just be sort of residual lead from having the 5-2 opening and being first player. All right, that is an ugly hand from poor 69. The sad part is, if I'm 69, this is the turn where I really want them to set off their torture chain, because I was just going to be discarding the whole thing anyway, and so I would just happily discard all my cards in that awful hand and not be sad about it. It's next turn when they get the amazing hand that the torture supplies start to hit. Bionicle's wondering why Steph isn't a leaderboard. I'm assuming that's just because Steph also is the designer of the site, and so there's some potential conflict of interest, so they recuse themselves from the leaderboard. I think they're like number 1 at the moment, if you actually factor them in. All right. I still don't like the goals. There are still tortures to be played and curses to be given, and gold is getting in your way. Gold might score a lot of coins, but it's a stop card, and so it's preventing you from lining those tortures up effectively. And if you're the first one to do that, the game can't. There's no way to come back. Like, you just get 10 curses in your opponent's deck, and no amount of gold is going to save them. Yeah, I think this kingdom's being a little bit underplayed. The early there's still 9 curses left. There's so much damage you could be doing to your opponent right now. Not to mention the Marauders. Like, if you get deck control, not only can you give them 10 curses, but you can be playing 2 Marauders per turn, and then they got 10 curses and 10 ruins. All right, so Steph thinks it's being overplayed, clearly. Steph likes the early provinces. I'm assuming that's what they mean. Um, yeah, no. I'm sure what he's suggesting is that this is more than underplayed. There's so many attacks here that if you build your deck towards playing all those attacks, it doesn't matter how many provinces they have. They can have 6 of the provinces, and you just shut down their deck to 0, and then you have all the time in the world to come back and score 2 provinces plus like 8 gardens or 8 duchies, whatever you want. So in a kingdom with Torture, with Marauder, and then weak enough trashing that it's hard to deal with those attacks, the first priority and the only priority you can care about until it's resolved is winning the split on those key jump cards. Not to mention with City around. Remember, City starts out as just like a weak village. It's just like a normal village that costs $5. But then it powers up once the supply piles get empty. And so if you're the one who's building the big deck and then you send 10 curses and ruins their way, all of a sudden your cities are also drawing you 2 cards, giving you a coin, giving you a buy. It's like a lab plus a market plus a village all in one. You could just build a phenomenal deck here. So B. coli is asking, why take the curse there? And my answer is, I have no earthly idea. So they could have discarded Province and... or are we talking about underscore taking the curse? Yeah, still not really sure. Yeah, curses hurt. Curses hurt a lot. And to be fair, we are late enough in the game, for some reason, that maybe you're thinking, I'm just not going to draw around to it again. I'm going to trigger this shuffle, and then I'm never going to find that curse before the province is empty. But we really shouldn't be that late in the game. It should be the case that there's still a lot left to be played here. Yeah, I think Blue's probably right. They just, for some reason, the province piles only at 2, and so you kind of do care about the short-term benefit of having a good turn over the long-term deck viability. Okay, DumbOnion's going for the penultimate province. That made sense because they're already 1 point in the lead. I think province is probably the right buy there. Uh-oh, is 69 throwing in the towel? I mean, they probably see the writing on the wall. They're correct that they're about to lose this game. I think both of them underplayed this a bit. Definitely underscore was in the better position here from the gate, but then they really opened up the possibility of outbuilding with the early province buys. I think probably the key mistake for 69 there was those extra golds. Those golds could have been more Torturers, Denza Sin, etc. And then if their opponent's letting off on their own deck quality by trying to green too early, then all of a sudden they can get those Torturer plays in, force the discards, and then the green is just going to come to a halt, and then they can outscore in the long term. I'm actually not even sure how many games this is going to be. Are they playing more? Oh, is this match already over? We're just getting into this. Have we officially crowned the dumbest onion already? Or are we just getting started? I don't think they can see any of this, though, because spec chat is off. Oh, is it on again? You're right, it's on again. Spec chat is on. Yeah! I'm good for another. Let's keep going. Is spec chat always on between matches? I was under the impression that spec chat, if it was off, would remain off between matches. Maybe I'm just totally wrong about that. Hello to you, underscore. All right, so we're just waiting for 69 to ready back up here, and we'll get into game number 2. All right, let's see what kingdom we got here. Oh, this is another big one. This is even more so than the previous one, I think. One where you do not want to green early. There's a big engine to be built here. So key cards. First off, draw. Wharf is phenomenal draw. It's among the best cards in the game. I mean, the turn you play it, it's like +2 cards, +1 buy. That's pretty meh. It's like a monk with plus buy. But the next turn, you're drawing 2 extra cards non-terminally at the start of your turn. with no action cost. Getting to see a 7-card hand at the start of your turn is just a really good way to reliably draw your deck. So Wharf is super strong. We got Storyteller, which can non-terminally draw. If you get a bunch of treasures in your deck, which as we'll see in a second, they very likely will, whether they want to or not. We've got Ranger here, which can be draw. Ranger definitely is playing second fiddle to Wharf, but it could be worth it if you only have 4. Or Ranger could be gained from Inventors, which we'll get to in a second. But Ranger draws 5 cards every other time you play it. And so usually with Ranger, what you want to do is you want to set it up with your token starting off face down. On the start of your turn, for example, you play it once the first time you get it. Then when you get like an even number of ranges in your deck, say like 2 or 4, and the first ranger you play draws you 5, which is a great way to reliably kick off your turn. And then like at the end of your turn, you flip the token face down and give them a play on the other ranger. Now the big limitation a lot of this is a lot of these cards are terminal. Right? Wharf is terminal, Ranger is terminal. Some of the cards we haven't gotten to yet, like Swamp Hag, which is a good attack, and Inventor, which is a good gainer, are all terminal. So where's the villages? None of the cards we're seeing in the kingdom actually are villages. But if you get Page is kind of nothing on the face of it. It's just a cantrip that does nothing for you. If you can play Page and exchange it up the line to Treasure, then to Warrior, then to Hero, and then to Champion, the effect of Champion is literally that you never have to care about plus action again the entire game. Every card just gives you plus action now. So you can play all the terminal action cards you want. It also protects you from all the attacks. And so if I'm looking at this kingdom, I'm seeing great terminal action cards like Wharf and Ranger for draw, Inventor for gains. And so priority number 1 here is just get that champion down as fast as possible. It has the side benefit of also protecting you from Swamp Hag. And so I see Steph saying in the chat, pages and parties. I think that's basically the number 1 priority here, at least in the short term, is you buy a page and you want to play that page as often as possible. And so the way you're going to do that is you're going to buy this event called Scouting Party, which just lets you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and just discard 3 of them. And so I would just spam that as much as possible to get everything else out of the way so I can play my page every single turn or as close to it as I can. And then, as soon as champion is down, then you start building out of control, and that's going to snowball incredibly fast. Now, one thing, of course, to watch out for with Scouting Party is it can actually come back to bite you if, for example, you trigger a shuffle. Your page is in play, and then you buy a Scouting Party thinking it's helping you because you're discarding cards, and then you accidentally flip over some cards that were in your discard, and then create a deck that's just a bunch of junk in it. So you have to be careful about that. But definitely, if you're using Scouting Party judiciously, it can rapidly expedite the speed at which you get that champion into play. So Willow is suggesting that Underscore is going for a Gardens Rush. So Gardens Rush here would just involve getting Inventors and then using those to gain gardens, and then you try to pile out Inventors, gardens, and like estates. That seems really gross to me. I hope they're not doing that. This kingdom is so much stronger than that. I actually haven't looked at what they've opened yet. So Underscore goes for Inventor and Page. I don't like that too much. There's not a whole lot of things I really want that cost 4 or less early on here. And so Inventor early on, it's a gainer, but I don't see key cards to gain. 69 opens with Silver and Forager. I really don't like that either. You got to open Page. There's absolutely no question that you open Page here. Champion is just the defining card of this kingdom. You get that in play, you win. And so not opening Page is like delaying that by at least 1 shuffle. I think here I would open, I'd have to look at whether I had 3-4 or 4-3, but some version of like Page Forager or Page Scouting Party, if you can line that up. Like on 4-3, I think Page Scouting Party seems like an excellent opening because you trigger the shuffle and get that page to the top earlier. On 3-4, maybe you open Forager and then Page, or can you still do Page and then Scouting Party on the second turn? I think that might work. I think Page Scouting Party still works if you have the 3-4 as well. Point being, you just want to play that page as fast as possible. Neither of the openings really suggest that. I want Scouting Parties to discard cards and probably Forager to trash some cards. Now, I wouldn't get a second page, I don't think, even if I could swing it, because this second card along the page line, Treasure Hunter, its effect is to give you silvers, potentially a bunch of silvers. And I even if I could get a second page going, I wouldn't want to put a bunch of silvers in my deck early on because I don't care too much about the treasure, and I really don't want that to get in the way of playing the page a lot. Now let's focus a little bit more on what they actually bought. So they're both getting a lot of silvers. I really dislike that. Silver, you don't need to hit super big price points early. The Storyteller makes the silver a little bit less bad than it could be, because if you get Storyteller, you can turn those silvers into draw. Storyteller's main effect is to convert treasures into draw for you. And so you line up Storyteller and silver, it's kind of benefiting you. But it's in general, silver is a stop card. It's getting in your way. It means you're playing that page line card less often. You're not going to get the champion as fast as you could. So silver is a card I would actively turn down if I could. Plus, you're going to be getting tons of them from Treasure Hunter anyway, more than likely. Swamp Hag I also dislike. Swamp Hag's an attack. Like, on the face of it, cursing is pretty good, but A, there's a decent trasher here in the form of Forager. Those curses aren't going to stay around. B, there's so many other good 5 costs here. Wharf, Storyteller, etc. are going to expedite your draw, which you really want to do here. And then C, Champion's going to block it eventually anyway, well before the curses run out. So I don't like the Swamp Hag buy at all. I think you want to prioritize drawing a bunch. Oh, and then D, your opponent can just skip out on buying things. Like, there's not that many key buys you want to make here early on. I would just happily spend my $4 on 2 scouting parties if my opponent had a Swamp Hag in play, because the attack only even triggers if they buy something, and so or buy a card specifically. So you could buy an event instead and avoid that. Yeah, I'm trying to get through this. There's so much going on, and I feel like I'm still behind. All right, so let's see what else. We got a Market. I don't dislike Market. Market's at least non-terminal. It's a cantrip, so it's not getting in your way. I think Storyteller or Wharf would be a better buy, but it's not hurting you in the way that Swamp Hag is. Swamp Hag is a terminal card. It doesn't draw you anything. Is J Nails Nails? That's my last name. Oh no, I did not start playing until sometime after this site started. I have not played any of the older versions. That's well before my time. And then who's got this Wharf? Okay, they both have Wharfs now. That's good. Wharf is a good card here. Now, it's a little risky before you get the champion down because it's a terminal draw card the turn you play it. And so there's some risk that you could accidentally draw your page line card without the ability to play it and then have to wait a whole other shuffle. But I think I'd buy Wharf anyway just because I value that huge amount of draw it gives so much. It's more likely to help you than to hurt you. Yeah, Nails is my surname. In fact, even taking a curse to buy Wharf, as Underscore did on turn 9, I think is probably justifiable. Wharf is a really good card, and like we said, you really want to draw here. So Underscore also has a bunch of Foragers, which I like. Trashing here is obviously very good. Oh, there's another Nails around, or at least there was. I don't think I've ever run into them. Yeah, I started, I don't know. Definitely the first games I played were on this client. I know there were former clients before that, but I'm not familiar with them. Yeah, so Storyteller is definitely good early on, I think. I could even see taking, I thought I say Storyteller, I think first 5 is probably a Wharf, but definitely Storyteller has a place here before you get that champion down, because its benefit is that it's not terminal, and it can sift through all these treasures that you have in your deck and don't want. And that's kind of helpful because it means once you get the champion out, certainly you're playing Wharfs and then maybe Rangers. But in the short term, you just want to get those treasures out of the way. Storyteller can sift through the coppers, draw with golds, etc. Now, a key question I'm asking is why there are golds in their deck. Gains a gold. So looks like 69 has bought a few golds. I dislike that play. I think this is sort of a common thing is, players see I got $6 or more, I should buy the most expensive thing I can because presumably that's the best card. And so they make this assumption that gold is a better card than the 5 costs in the kingdom. I'd say most often that is not the case. Most $5 actions are better than buying golds. Certainly in this kingdom, I think any of the $5 actions here over a gold, especially Storyteller or Wharf. And so I think that they're common misconception is just like, oh, I should maximize the amount of value I'm getting out of my money by buying the most expensive thing. You should buy the highest value thing for your deck, but the costs on the cards are not necessarily a reliable indicator of that. Yeah, so the way this kingdom ideally ought to go is you get champion down ASAP, then you can draw with Wharfs and Rangers. I want to add a bunch of Inventors. Those can gain me additional Rangers and Wharfs. And again, once you get champion, those are all non-terminal. And then eventually you can have tons of buys with Wharf, Ranger. You get any modest amount of cost reduction in play from Inventor's effect, and all of a sudden you can pile out like duchies or even provinces in one go because you'll have like 15 buys and duchies will cost 0. And so there'll be a phenomenal pile out of duchies, some number of action cards, etc. So it looks like 69 is already going for a province. Where are they in the champion line? Let's see. Someone has a hero. Looks like Underscore has the hero. What is the warrior? Does someone even have a warrior yet? I don't think they even have a page line at all. I hope they have a page line. Someone tell me. Does 69 have the page? Oh my god! They never even got page. Oh, that's bold. Yeah, so remember how I was saying that champion is the crucial card in this kingdom? It looks like 69 has just elected to skip out on that entirely. I don't like that play. I mean, I guess if I were trying to construct a deck that just skipped champion, it would be something that was trying to be as fast as possible, like that Inventor Gardens rush we were discussing earlier. Now that seems very losing to me, but it's the only play I could see here that would really justify ignoring champion. Um, yeah, without a champion, I don't see how 69 wins this. There's just no way that a deck that has literally no ability to play multiple terminal actions in a kingdom as strong as this one is going to stand up once underscore gets that champion down. So underscore has a wharf coming in, so they'll be drawn to the end of their shuffle. They should just play. They should probably trash the silver with their forager or a different junk card if they draw one, and then play that hero, and then they'll be drawing into a fresh. Don't play the market. So here's a crucial mistake that I knew they were going to do it. So this is a big misplay. And this is another thing I think a lot of newer players make the mistake of is they're like, oh, market has no cost. It's +1 card, +1 action. I can play it for free. I can draw a card for free. It doesn't cost me an action. Get free buy and a coin. What they just did was, so they were at the end of a shuffle. And we said there's exactly one card in the deck that matters right now, which is that hero, which is going to turn into a champion next turn. If they were at the end of their shuffle and they just ended the turn there, they played the hero and then they buy whatever and pass. They don't play the market. They're shuffling a fresh deck with all their cards in it. That champion could appear anywhere, but it could conceivably appear as high as the very top of the deck. And they can get that and play the very first turn and then immediately start drawing with all the terminal draw. By playing that market, because they had an empty deck, they forced the discard pile to be reshuffled into a new deck. Now they know the champion can't be in that deck because their hero is currently in hand. So now they've got a deck of 20 non-champion cards that they have to draw through before they can conceivably even get to that champion. And so that slowed them down by as much as like 3 or 4 whole turns here. Just playing that one market for 1 coin, they now have a deck of 20 cards to draw through. And that's pretty huge. So it definitely, I think, underscore what looked like a minor inconsequential play, just play a market, get a coin. It was a huge setback here, like absolutely massive. Yeah, super important. And always, if you ever see that you're about to trigger a shuffle, if your deck's empty but you got cards in the discard, you should always seriously consider: is this a shuffle I want triggered? Are the cards in my hand / play better than the cards in that discard pile? And if the answer is yes, the best play is often just, I'll stop my turn here. I don't want to trigger a shuffle with a bunch of bad cards. I want these good cards that are in play / in my hand to go right back into my deck. And so that was the key misplay that underscore had there. And it could come back to cost them because they are behind in points. And their deck is going to make up for that by getting champion into play. And then they can do a whole lot of stuff with all these cards. But if they've delayed by 4 more turns their ability to get that champion down, that's really going to hamstring their deck a bunch. Yeah, so DumbOnion's just playing, looks like, kind of straightforward big money here, lots of golds. I mean, it's working for them because, I keep saying DumbOnion, this is too confusing. Their name's DumbOnion, I read it and I want to say that. So 69 is playing straight big money with all the golds, which is, I mean, it's unfortunately working out for them because I think underscore has somewhat underplayed the engine here, but it definitely shouldn't be. There's so much more potential here. Now, a play that I guess I do like from underscore, I mean, not really now, but eventually, is what they should recognize is my opponent's playing the short game. They're going for the provinces. They're not bothering with the fancy champion stuff. They're just trying to end the game quickly, just get the provinces done, the end. If they're doing that, what you want to do is draw the game out as long as possible. And the way you do that is by you just don't touch the province pile at all. Because if you're touching the province pile, what you're doing is helping them in the game, right? The game ends when provinces get to 0. So if you don't buy provinces, they have to spend longer emptying the province pile. Now, of course, you're taking a bigger short-term, points deficit if you're not scoring. But if you're building the bigger deck, the one that is going to do a huge, like absolutely enormous amount long-term, like I'm not exaggerating when I say this, this is a huge, incredibly large engine kingdom. Then you know that if you can at least draw that game out a few more turns, when the engine finally kicks off, you're going to score huge amounts from Triumphal Arch, right? That's 30 points right there. From Duchies, from Gardens. You could easily score like 100 points or more, like if you're really trying to rack up the points. And so just don't touch the provinces at all, score by other means. Now I think underscore got provinces earlier. But something they did that I liked was, they got a province earlier. Was it looks like they're going for gardens instead of province now, which kind of does make sense. If you're like, I'm behind in points, but I've got the better deck, you should go for something besides the provinces, because even if it's objectively worse in the abstract, if it draws the game out and your deck is the one that's better long term, that's inherently good for you. So 69 is asking whether the video will be posted. Yes, I will post it on YouTube, so you'll be able to see. I mean, you can't hear me, but when you do eventually hear me, just know that the request is granted, which, as I realize, if you're hearing this, you already know the answer to that question. This is an entirely pointless detour. Let me double check that I am recording. Okay, good, I am recording. Last time I tried to record an entire match, and I realized I hadn't pressed start. That would have been a big error. Oh, this is so Underscore is going to finally get their champion down on turn 19, which is real slow for this. And the game's going to be already over. This is so sad to see. Because, yeah, the champion play was 100% the right play here. I just think I don't think they prioritized it enough. Like, if you're playing for the champion thing, priority one is get that champion down as fast as possible. Don't get goals, don't get silvers, don't get fancy. Just play that page as much as possible. That means the only cards you should be buying are probably like a page, maybe some foragers to trash, maybe some draw cards like Storyteller or Wharf, and then to spend all your extra money on scouting parties to get other junk out of the way. And then once you get that champion in play, you start playing those inventors, you start gaining those rangers. You can play all the rangers you want for all the draw you want, all the wharves you want for all the draw you want. Inventors are going to reduce everything to 0, and you're going to score huge amounts of points. But you have to recognize that that's the long term, and that long term does not involve golds. And so the golds don't help you short term, they don't help you long term. Same with the silvers. All they're doing is sort of junking up your deck, and you're now having to draw through them. And so I think that's kind of the misplay that Underscore had here, is they're playing the deck for the engine, which is the right move, but they're playing it kind of like big money. They're still taking the golds, they're taking the silvers, even though that doesn't help the deck that they're currently playing towards. Yeah, so I think this is probably lost at this point for Underscore. I don't think they can really ramp this up before 69 hits 8 again. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they can get enough points off with these gardens. I guess if I'm Underscore, I mean, the problem is you can't just pass 43. You have to get past 49 to make that province not a winning play for 69, because. So Freaky's asking what this is. This is the most important match of all time. We have Underscore DumbOnion Underscore playing DumbOnion69 to decide who the dumbest onion is. Yeah, I mean, like there have been some other relatively significant matches recently. I know League Finals was recently, but like compared to those, I mean, this one I think does take the cake for most significant Dominion match, bar none. So 69 is asking what just happened. Oh, they were able to do it. Nice. I like this. They actually have taken the lead. They got 2 gardens, and I guess they just hit a key number of cards in the deck to power up those gardens. Gardens are worth 1 point per 10 cards you have. So I think at some point in these like 5 games, Onion passed another key 10 card mark. They're up to like 40 or 50 cards now. And all of a sudden, 69 actually can't take that last province, because if they take the last province, they only have 49 points and they lose. Now they could hit, if they get 13 here, they win. How do they hit 13? I mean, playing Wharf can't get you there. So the question is, does Wharf or Swamp Hag set up for that better? I'd probably play. I don't know. I don't know whether I would play the Wharf or the Swamp Hag. Both of them look potentially, great for next turn. Even the Ranger kind of sets you up for, drawing next turn. I mean, Ranger is definitely third of those list. But if you're DumbOnion69 here, okay, so they go with the Wharf. I think that's perfectly fine. I think they actually are losing though. This is nice. So I think Underscore play what was closer to the correct deck here, and it looks like it's gonna win out. Yeah, this is definitively a win for Underscore here. They've got the win in hand. They can buy the province. They can gain a bunch of gardens. They can rack up the score. Yeah, they're not going for mercy. They're not just buying the province at the end of the game. They're getting all the gardens. They're going to buy the province. They're going to buy the duchies. They're rubbing it in. Oh, this is painful. Oh, that was painful. They're making fun of 69 for not playing the engine deck. Like, look what you're missing out on. All right. So is that 2-0? I think Underscore won both of those, right? Freaky, this game is called Dominion. It's a deck building game. The idea is you're trying to gain victory cards and then whoever can get the most victory cards, they win the game. But the sort of downside is victory cards, they don't do anything for you. And so if you try to jump straight towards those victory cards, you end up having a worse deck than someone who tries to build a bit. And so it's kind of a clever little game where you have to carefully balance your deck between building up a bunch and then scoring points. So the way you win this game, you kind of have to carefully balance that. Like we saw that interplay here where 69 was going for, they just went straight for the points right away. They had a decent points lead and they got really close to winning. But then Underscore played the longer term strategy. They built up a bit bigger and then allowed them to score more points in the end. So yeah, that's what Dominion's about. Yes, that's what I said. How do I pronounce that? That's what I'm here for. Like, I explicitly set this up for newer players to ask questions. So this is a judgment-free zone. Freaky can ask however many basic questions I need if it helps them understand the game. All right, do we have another match? Honestly, I'm down to commentate this for as long as I have time to play. There wasn't really a very clearly defined number of games in this match. I don't know how long this is going to go on for. I'm hoping it continues. I'm enjoying this. I'm confused about what Freaky's confused about. Like, I would like to help. Can you clarify what part of this you're missing? Yeah, so Underscore, DumbOnion underscore, and DumbOnion69 are, I think, arguably the two top players right now. If you're asking me my personal opinion. And so this is kind of like, this is the match for all the marbles. If we want to decide, definitively the best DumbOnion player, I think this match will determine it. All right, so Underscore is ready to go. Is 69 going to accept? Yeah, I think the loser has to change the name to Smart Onion or Smart Leak or something. Yeah, I don't understand how that, I don't know, some random like A-League finals match got 120 spectators, and this is only 25. I guess in their defense, this was announced like the moment it was starting, so there wasn't enough time to build up the hype. I think had it been appropriately hyped and planned out, this would easily have surpassed the like 120 spectator mark that that other game earlier did. Yeah, obviously answer that. So yeah, that's why you're even asking. How do you call yourself DumbOnion69? I'm not know the answer to that question. Of course the pizza thought you on it. All right, what do we got here? This game's already started. I'm only paying attention to the kingdom. Okay, so draw. We got Black Cat for draw. +2 cards that nets you +1 card each time you play it. Diplomat also is net +1 card. Plus action. Well, Diplomat can be plus action if you have 4 or fewer cards in hand when you play it, which is sort of equivalent here to having 5 or few cards after. So you could get some plus action from Diplomat, but more reliably, Fortress is plus action. It's a village. And Hamlet is kind of sort of plus action, but I'll discuss why that one doesn't work very well here in a second. Then we got trashing in the form of Moneylender, which can trash a copper from your hand for up to 3, or exactly 3 coins. And Monastery, which can trash anything. It just trashes any of the cards in your hand or coppers in play per card you gain that turn. And then lastly, do we have plus buy? Yeah, we've got plus buy in the form of Hamlet. You have to discard a card, though, to get it. So let's talk about this. You could build an engine here. Diplomat and Black Cat both get you draw. They're netting you, +1 card each time you play them, but they're terminal action cards. So if you want to build an engine here, you'll need actions. And the only action here that really works is either Fortress directly, or if these top 5 cards of the Settlers pile get exhausted, there'll be Bustling Village underneath, which is a great village because it's netting you 2 actions every time you play it. Now, that seems a little bit unlikely to me. I don't see any reason to get Settlers here. There's Wall Around, which is a landmark that costs, gives you -1 victory point per card you have. So I'm not looking to pick up, random cantrips like Settlers if they're not actively serving a purpose in my deck because they're costing me points. So I don't think Bustling Village is likely to be uncovered here. At least, if they play appropriately. That was hard. Now the third village we saw was Hamlet. Now Hamlet on its own, I think, can't jive with either Black Cat or Diplomat. Although I'll discuss in a second what I think Blue is suggesting. Because if Black Cat nets you 1 draw at the cost of 1 action. But if you play Hamlet and you discard a card for an action, you're netting yourself 1 action at the cost of 1 draw. So you built an engine with, say, Black Cat and Hamlets. You just sort of end up spinning in circles and not increasing your hand size because one of them is converting action to draw, one of them is converting draw to action. Now, I think what you could potentially do is, if you use the discard thing early with Hamlet, say do that once at the start of your turn, getting your hand down to 4 cards could allow you to trigger the Diplomat's effect, and you're getting both cards and actions off of Diplomat, and then you can draw from there. That could be worth it. So I think Hamlet could be an improvement on a Diplomat-based draw deck, but only if you're able to pull off that interaction, where like the first play is discard with Hamlet, then you set off the Diplomats, and then you draw from there. Now the question is, well, how big do you want to build? Definitely want to get trashed here, because Walls Around, having junk cards in your deck is actively not only drawing your deck down, but also scoring your points, or scoring your negative points. So Moneylender is going to be a key here. It's good copper trasher. You also want Monastery at some point to trash those extra shelters that you've got at the start. These are things that start in place of estates. But then there's, how big do you want to build? If Wall weren't around, you could conceivably build pretty big. The draw is not amazing, the action is not amazing, but there's enough there that you could build. The problem is, none of these engine pieces is phenomenal, right? You need like a bunch of actions, a bunch of draw to get a modestly good engine going, because each individually is not doing a whole lot for you. And so the problem is that's a whole lot of negative wall points. I could see a deck here that gets trashed a bit and then goes relatively quickly for provinces, winning out for sure, just because although there's an engine to be played here, it's gonna, each of those engine parts is gonna cost you a bunch in terms of points. Now I think Diplomat could serve a place here, but I think I mostly want Black Cats to draw, because Black Cats have the ability to give you a curse late in the game if you have one at the start of your hand when they buy a province, and those curses are going to be worth -2 points, because in addition to the normal -1, they're also going to count against them for the wall points. Let's see what else we got going on. Actually, first, I still think they actually open. We're still talking about the kingdom here. So underscore open with Moneylender and silver. I think that's a perfectly plausible opening. Moneylender is great to get trashed. I think I would probably choose either Monastery or Dungeon over Moneylender. Now, the downside is, silver helps you hit 5. That's usually one of the main reasons you open silver, but there's not a key price point I want to hit here. There's no $5 cards, and most of the things I want to buy are kind of cheap. So I'm fine opening something like Dungeon or Monastery that doesn't help me spike 5, because I don't want 5 here, but they do help me get trashed faster. Monastery directly, because it trashes cards, and Dungeon indirectly, because it helps you find that Moneylender more often. So I think I would choose something, stuff says to do what? I don't even know. I'll come back to that. And then 69 is open with Sinister Plot and Dungeon. Sinister Plot's generally it's a good thing to get going. It's it's a draw, and it we said a lot of the other draw here is more convoluted. Sinister Plot is a draw that doesn't even take up a spot in your deck, so it's not counting against you for wall. But I don't like Plot plus Dungeon because it's not doing anything for you. The value of Dungeon is it sifts through your cards to find the key cards you want to play. So Dungeon's really key when you've got like 1 or 2 cards in your deck that you really want to get to, and you're fine to sort of like sift into the rest of it to play that more often. Like Last Kingdom, Page plus Dungeon is like a great combo, because Dungeon sifts through a ton of cards, 2 one turn, 2 the next turn, and you find that page a lot. But here, 69 is opened with Dungeon and then no other card. So all they're doing is sifting through coppers and shelters to find more coppers and shelters. If you're opening Dungeon, you should probably be opening Moneylender with it, because the value of Dungeon will be playing that Moneylender more often. Now we see they're going relatively straight into golds. Here, this actually, I think, makes a good deal of sense. Like we said, I don't think you need to build very big here. Wall is going to take a toll on that engine. I think just going for golds in the provinces is pretty viable. Okay, yeah, so it looks like the thing that Steph was suggesting was Supplies, Monastery, and Money. So Supplies and Monastery has a nice interaction, because Supplies, on the face of it, it's a copper. But it's the copper that puts a horse on the top of your deck. And a horse is sort of netting you +1 card. It's like a one-shot laboratory that then returns itself to the pile. So it kind of cancels out the reason why copper is normally bad. Because copper is normally bad because it takes up a spot in your deck, which hinders you by 1 draw. Supplies is like a copper, but then it gives you a draw card to make up for it. And so it's like a no-cost copper. Now, the reason it synergizes well with Monastery is because Monastery lets you trash 1 card per card you gained. And so if Supplies is gaining you horses every turn, it's upping the number of cards you're able to trash in the Monastery. So like if you get 2 Supplies and a Monastery in hand, you can trash potentially 3 cards, which is pretty good. Now the one thing that makes me a little bit hesitant on Supplies is I would definitely take Supplies over Silver in most contexts in a normal kingdom, because 1 no-cost coin is better than a 2-coin card that takes up a spot in my deck. That's a stop card. But in a kingdom with Wall, I sort of want to get the most value out of the fewest cards. And to get 2 coins into my deck, Supplies is taking up more spaces than Silver is. And so I think the potential drawback to Supplies is it's just not a whole lot of money for the amount of wall points it's costing. And so I could see getting a few early on from Monastery, but I think once I'm relatively trashed, I'm probably I'm taking Silver over Supplies in this kingdom. Now let's see what the score is. Oh, Underscore is winning again. How did this get away from 69 this time? Okay, so 69, we did say 69 had the weaker opening. Okay, so Steph is just taking Supplies at any point. Okay, so, I guess one advantage is now I was going to say the horses go away again, but like on that final turn, you're putting horses on the top of your deck that's an additional negative point each time. That final turn, you play a bunch of Supplies, you're scoring another negative point from the horse that you're putting on top. I'm not totally sold that Supplies is better than Silver here, even though it certainly is in general. Yeah, so I think 69 had the weaker opening. Looks like Moneylender's getting trashed. No, Moneylender. Underscore is getting trashed faster than Moneylender. Oh, we have another key misplay on turn 3 that I missed from 69. They bought a Fortress. So remember the contents of the deck so far. They'd opened a Sinister Plot, which is not even an action card, and then Dungeon, which is a non-terminal action card. We said game 1 that the key reason you want to get a village in your deck is so you can play more than 1 terminal action card per turn. Now, Fortress is a village, and 69 has no terminal action cards in their entire deck. And not only that, but they also have a Necropolis, but they already have 1 village. And so this Fortress is doing absolutely nothing for them. And so it's kind of actively worse than nothing, because Fortress is also a sort of -1 wall point eventually. And so I think this is 69's problem, is they got a bunch of cards that are doing nothing to get their deck rolling. The Dungeon is sifting through cards, so they have nothing they're trying to find, and then the Fortress is helping them play action cards they don't have yet. You got to prioritize the short term over the long term here, because if you just dream about some maybe long-term goal of playing Fortresses and Black Cats and Diplomats, but you don't build a deck that can get there efficiently, you're just never going to get there. The game's going to be over. And so opening with cards you eventually may want, like Fortress, is not good if it comes at the cost of opening at cards that help you in the here and now. Yeah, Steph says this is super over. It does look like it. It's kind of hard to come back from a points deficit with Wall in the kingdom, because the differential in point value between province, duchies, and estates is all the more stark. A lot of games, if you get behind on provinces, you can outscore that in the long term by buying more duchies, because the duchies half as much as provinces. But with Wall, functionally every province is only 5 points, because it's also -1 point from Wall, and duchies are only 2 points. So a duchy is only 40% as much as provinces, and a state's literally worth 0. And so it's really hard to outscore a short-term province deficit with Wall, because just duchies and estates become worth a lot less relative to province. Okay, so Steph is pointing out that in addition to the points lead, Underscore also has the better deck. That doesn't really surprise me given how they opened. I think getting that Moneylender early, getting trashed early was definitely the better play than 69's strategy. Like Sinister Plot can make sense in the abstract, Dungeon can make sense in the abstract, but they really didn't synchronize well together. Dungeon sifts through to find cards that just weren't in that deck. Fortress helps you play cards that just weren't in that deck. And so I think 69's deck just never kicked off because they didn't put cards in it that would get it to kick off. Yeah, there is no way back in this kingdom for 69. Suppose they gained every single card left. In the duchies, they would still win by a hair. The duchies are worth 16 points and the provinces are worth 5 points. So if they were to gain every single victory card and nothing else, they would win by 1 point. Now, do they have plus buy? So suppose they pop the Sinister Plot. Do they have a Hamlet? Means a Hamlet. They have 1 Hamlet. So if they pop this Sinister Plot, they could get a plus buy from their Hamlet. They could buy 2 total things. but I'm not sure why they're stocking up on the Sinister plot. They've left it, they've gained the card every single time, they've never spent it. And so they could draw 8 here whenever they want to by just popping the Sinister plot. But the question is, what does it do for you? Right? If you only got maximum 1+ buy in your deck, then you can draw 30 coins, and the best you can buy in this scenario is a province and a duchy. Okay, so 69 is saying they have so many regrets and are just cringing just thinking to listen to the commentary. Yeah, unfortunately, kind of have been hammering your style, but it is a learning experience. You're gonna be able to see with hindsight, 20/20 vision. You'll realize what mistakes you're making, and that'll help you improve. This is all in good fun. Don't worry about it. I really enjoy that someone named XXX DumbOnion69. No, what? Now I'm saying 69 by default. XXX DumbOnion XXX is joined. Yeah, you're the first person to make that joke this year, Winster Cheese. Okay. So it does look like Underscore is shaped out to be the dumbest onion here. They are 3-0 at the moment. I do enjoy that the username Cheese is talking to the one with the username Onion about pizza. Y'all are both toppings. All right, so it looks like we're calling a match here. It was a 3-0 for Underscore, the true dumb onion. And Smart Leak 69 is the loser in this scenario and has been determined to be too intelligent to be a dumb onion. Yeah, I will upload this to my channel on YouTube, and I'll post the link. I'll make sure to DM y'all so y'all see it. Yeah, good games. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is the best match I've seen in a while. All right, I'm going to sign off now.